Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the OC Pokemon Podcast. My name is Matthew, your Pokemon Dungeon Master. And before we get started, I do have a quick announcement for everyone that listens. If you are all caught up, we are doing a 1,000 download giveaway on our Instagram to sort of celebrate that. 1,000 downloads. That's crazy to think about. I barely have like $1,000 in my bank account if I'm lucky. That sounds a lot sadder than it should be, but I think I'm just trying to emphasize the importance of 1,000. That's crazy. Sincerely, from all of us that all of us here on the podcast, we sincerely thank you guys for listening. To this extent, it humbles us very greatly. I won't give any spoilers to what the giveaway is quite yet. More details will kind of come out as they come along. However, I will let you know that it is something very nice and sweet that hopefully you'll all be able to enjoy. And if you leave a review, you'll get an additional entry along with the needed rules that Jenny and I are currently working on right now. So keep an eye on our Instagram. That's instagram.com at the OC Pokemon Podcast. I think that's the OC PKMN Podcast. Shit. I'm so bad at this. I'm never going to get good at it. Yes, the OC PKMN Podcast on Instagram. And I totally did not look that up. So that's it for the announcements. I look forward to the sort of reviews as we climb up to 1K. Again, we'll be posting the official rules on our Instagram. If you leave a review, please leave a name and a Pokemon so we can also give you a shout out in addition to an additional entry for you for this giveaway. You might want it. It's not anything too big. They're very cute. I already know what it is, but again, you guys will just have to wait and see. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and begin. And I'd like to give another small disclaimer. The original episode is going to be kind of an abrupt start. I might put a little editing in the beginning of it, just sort of an introduction. However, this was a 6-hour recording. It's crazy to think that we played for 6 hours and recorded all of it. So again, just a quick disclaimer. Hello, and welcome back to the OC Pokemon Podcast. My name is Matthew, your Pokemon Dungeon Master, and I would like to welcome you to our Too Low Quality Did Not Listen. This is a sort of short recap where I go ahead and narrate everything that happened as opposed to making you guys listen to a sort of a poor quality, we did record on our phone version of our D&D session, so this is to sort of help me pump out more content as well as spare you the sort of bad ASMR is one way to put it. Let's begin. We last left off as Jess's Whirlipole was gazing at an odd-shaped rock in the middle of the river. The rock appeared to be some sort of active, violent fighting arena that resembled a large stone crown. The monster they had just fought and the incoming fire were now distant thoughts as Jess and Jenny figured this rock was the secret to how wild Pokemon evolve into their final stages. As soon as Jenny passes information to Jess, hearing stories about how some Pokemon evolve while holding items and how this stone may be the key to evolving Whirlipole. Jess launched Whirlipole towards the rock against an army of intimidating, croaking Poliwhirl and Poliwhirl on the other side of the river. Jess decided to test her luck by throwing Whirlipole to at least touch this rock, under the sort of premise that all they have to do is touch it to evolve. Meanwhile, Jenny stood on the sidelines to help and assist any way that she can. But before that, I guess the recording missed out on when the party decided to split up. Kurt and Abigail rolled a quick perception check, and Abigail heard a distant cry for help in the direction of the fire. Kurt and Abigail headed straight towards the incoming inferno, and a huge crowd of Pokemon fleeing from the fire came running towards the two. Kurt failed only to see Wirt getting swept up in the crowd, but with Abigail's quick reaction, Wirt was saved by Abigail's Beedrill, Reggie. Hey, Reggie. The Poison Bee Pokemon got a natural 20 to reach Wirt and pick them up using their careful large stingers. Wirt, Kurt, and Reggie began to do this like sort of weird fist bump ritual. They're like, yeah. They were just getting so hyped up. And I think it's so funny too, because looking back at it now, it almost seems Reggie is closer with Kurt than she is with Abigail. And Abigail then prompted Kurt to head inside. But Jenny, the player, reminded Haley and Bianca, that they were given fire-resistant kimonos from Fire Lily Lake. The party went through the chaos as they tried to bully and guilt me into giving Kurt a quick change of clothes after an off-mic discussion about changing clothes. So here's a little backstory to that. Kurt was so adamant on keeping his current attire. I was asking him if he changed clothes at all at any point, if he had any bags, and Haley, the player, said, no, Kurt only has a fanny pack. And I found this completely ridiculous. So I did not give Haley, the player, a sort of change of clothes. Hindsight now, it was a funny decision, but probably not the best one. It's kind of too strict of a DM. I should have just had it so someone was holding on to it. But anyway, as Kurt and Abigail progressed through the woods, they realized that the environment had become more and more dangerous as the fire had desecrated this once lush land into a blazing inferno. Kurt and Abigail weigh their options, and Abigail opts to use Sage, her Tortuga, as a sort of protect against any fire environmental hazards. Abigail stays strong as she faces the heat, and Kurt tags along with Wirt, his shiny war turtle. We rolled for the first encounter. First one out of 5. Now, I had planned for this to be sort of 5 rounds for them. Every round there was supposed to be a sort of layer action. That's something that's supposed to happen in the environment. Here were the options. So a 16 through 20 was a sort of peaceful venture deeper into the forest with no sort of encounters. Nothing happens, they make progress. 11 through 15, some mud and large roots were impeding the path, and players either had to make a low dex save or strength save to avoid tripping, sort of either dodging the roots or completely powering through them. 6 through 10, herds of Pokemon come running through this wildfire and are bumping into the players unexpectedly, sort of like an angry mob. Even some of these Pokemon are actively on fire. They either had to make a strength or a dex save to get sort of out of the way. Now, 1 through 5 was the worst option. A sort of giant burning log falls in front of the players, and they must make it was a very low dex save. However, if they did get hit, the player will not be stuck and have to roll a DC 14 strength check to sort of get out from underneath. If there were another Pokemon or player to help them try to get out, they could make it with advantage. However, if they fail, they basically have to roll for another round. And if a player was knocked down for 3 rounds, they would gain something sort of similar to exhaustion. Here was basically the worst part of it. So if they fell down for all 5 rounds and were having a very, very hard time getting deeper and deeper into these woods, trying to find the voice that was calling out to them, they would become badly burned and scarred and would have to track down the avatar to regain their honor. Or, okay, so no avatar, but another option was to also take disadvantage on all the rolls until they got the burn healed. So really up to you, whichever one's harder or easier. I mean, Avatar made it look like it was pretty easy, right? So anyway, we get to the first roll, and it was a 6. Both Kurt and Abigail failed as they tried to avoid flaming Rattatas, Pidgeys, and Bidoof running towards their way. They were knocked prone and continued to trek forward despite the dangers that lurked ahead. The second roll was a 13. The uprooted trees were now blocking the pathway, and it gave them the option to use either strength or dex for this check. Kurt was able to barely make it by moving the roots with his raw strength, but Abigail came up 1 short of the DC. I had to roll a d4 to see if you can get a higher than an 8, so a 2 was needed here. She was able to get that 2 and successfully made it through thanks to Kurt grabbing Abigail by her shirt collar and ripping apart the roots of the fallen burning trees. The next roll was a 4. Did I ever mention that I'm really bad at rolling sometimes? Kurt and Abigail heard a loud crack full of embers and splintering wood as they see a huge flaming chunk of trunk begin to fall towards Kurt and Abigail. But before we keep going with them, let's check on Jess and Jenny. So Jess and Jenny were watching Whirlpool fly through the air to reach this rock, but the army of Poliwhirls and Poliwhirls were able to shoot them down with a natural 19 and 20. Hey, I can roll good for the bad guys, just bad for the party. This prevented Whirlpool from having a straight shot to the rock, but that didn't deter them. Jess's Poliwhirl went full Naruto, correcting their flight in midair with a short burst of their new move, Water Snipe, to also make sure that the trajectory was towards the rock. So imagine, like, if you haven't seen Naruto, I'm going to describe it as best as possible here. So they're flying through the air, they get hit with some bubble beams or some water guns. It kind of throws their body into like a sort of spiral, but they're able to sort of shoot this blast of water straight from the center of their spiral, and it just looks super badass as they correct their sort of positioning itself. It's almost like in 0 Gs, using that force to sort of correct their upright position. Jess asked Jenny to help come up with some sort of solution to create a barrier around the rock to avoid this army, just jumping in to attack Whirlpool. So Jenny and Umi decided to create a literal leaf tornado that would do sort of half the normal damage dice to all those who would want to enter. So this was normally a 13d10 move. Again, I made this way too strong, but Guardian of the Sky, what are you gonna do? So normally it would do 13d10. We rounded down, so that would put it at 6d10. But in the end, it doubled, so 12d10, pretty much, to all enemies passing through. So kind of think of spike growth, but the spikes are way deadlier and more broken. So Jess's Poliwhirl was unable to stick the landing though, even though they did a sick move to correct themselves midair. And they took a little bit of damage as they sort of belly flopped onto this rock. However, they felt more and more powerful as they stood on this rock alone. I had informed Austin the player that if Poliwhirl stays on this rock alone, it will get a +6 to damage and +6 to all strength-based checks and moves. However though, if another Pokemon were to join in on the rock, they will share the bonus as equally as possible. Whomever was left standing would be the victor. A battle of King of the Hill on the rock. While Jess and Jenny were trying to bring up the differences between Poliwrath and Poliwhirl amongst the crowd, Jess's Whirlpool saw two large white hands push through the leaf tornado to reveal a Poliwrath attempting to get through for some reason. Even though Poliwraths don't evolve any further. Game Freak, please make a Mega Evolution for Poliwrath, that'd be so rad. However, they also got a natural 1 on a strength check, but this was more than enough time to create an opening for the real contender, a juiced up Poliwhirl with blood-stained glove hands and a mean scowl on their face. They began wading through the water to meet Whirlpool at the rock for a showdown. So think of that JoJo meme where Dio's walking up to Jotaro. Jenny tried to use her Happiny to mimic the mud throw that Whirlpool tried to use to attack the incoming buff Poliwhirl. But she accidentally threw it back into the water in a very childlike throw. However, they did get a berry ready from their little pocket. I'll have to divulge on that a little bit later. But for now, this buff Poliwhirl begins to drum their belly to maximize their attack, croaking alongside with the army of Poliwags and Poliwhirl, also chanting in tandem, giving them a whopping +13 to hit and +5 to damage on all strength-based checks. And this wasn't even them on the rock yet. So Whirlpool puts up their less than supple Dukes to fight this new buff challenger. But we cut back to Kurt and Abigail, making their dex saving throws from this burning, falling log. Abigail got a 14, just getting right above the DC. But Kurt got that natural 20! What's up? Kurt panicked and channeled all of his baldness into a one-punch-esque move and punched the falling hunk of burning log. It was able to break thanks to its structural integrity being eaten away by the fire. And Kurt was able to grab Abigail and use their new momentum to jump through the remainder away from the rest of this falling, somewhat shattered lumber. 3 more turns to get to this voice. As they got closer, the voice for Kurt gets louder in his head, saying,
I'm here. I'm here.
The next roll. 10. As more and more Pokemon scurry out of the forest, Kurt said, Fuck these Pokemon! Kurt and Abigail see that these wild Pokemon are on fire and try to lower the DC for the dex save. They plan to use their water Pokemon to douse the Pokemon that are on fire. Kurt's apathy was really showing here, not wanting to waste their action economy by helping these Pokemon out. They were able to put out the Pokemon together, hosing them down as the Pokemon stopped and showered in the saving water. This allowed Kurt and Abigail to not have to do a sort of, not to do a dex save at all. The next roll. Another 10. However, they do not see a group. Instead, they see a rectangular sedimentary rock heading towards them atop of this strange-looking crab creature. A terrestrial hermit crab known as Crustle. Crustle. Huh. Anyway, as Crustle. Abigail was able to recognize it as a Crustle and knew that Water Gun was going to be effective. But as Abigail mind raced, she tried to weigh her options. She decided to hold their ground and combine their water Pokemon with Sage and Wort. I gave them a damage threshold they had to pass, and they were able to easily pass thanks to their Mystic Waters. Haha, thanks Lily Marsh. Shout out to Lily Marsh. Sage was engulfed in their Aqua Jet, but instead of rushing waters, it was a rush of violent bubbles. This giant crab veered away from the 2 turtles, who were exerting more than enough turtle power. Haha. Turtles in a half shell. This Crustle then veered away from the 2 turtles, rushing it through burning trees and knocking some over with its huge body, scared of the threat of water rather than fire. That's a big brain move. I had Haley, the player, roll the last encounter, and Bianca was praying that it would be good. However, though, the dice had a different story. The Crustle from before did not listen. They knocked down tree after tree in a panic. Haley rolled a 3. They see another log about to fall on Kurt and Abigail. Another tree threatening her party members with a fiery death. This log being faster, heavier, more lethal than the last, as it pins both Kurt and Abigail to the ground since they both failed their deck saves. Kurt and Abigail are now pinned by this flaming log and roll to try to escape its grasp by pushing together. But there's nowhere for them to really grasp the log where it isn't detrimental to them. Wirt and Sage come over to also help, being able to hose down parts of the tree where they can assist their trainers. Adrenaline is pumping. Abigail and Kurt were now stuck underneath a flaming log in the middle of a forest fire, and death seemed imminent. If Sage and Wirt couldn't save them here and now, they would die. The crackling of fire, their hearts rapidly beating, the dangerous glow of the fire in the canopies. Wirt was struggling to lift up this huge log, and Sage was now a mere prehistoric sea turtle now out of the water, and Sage's grip slipped. However though, Tortugas are known to evolve into a sort of terrestrial predator, and this adrenaline crucial moment were enough to spark an evolution. Sage immediately flexed their fins and began to lift even more, and with a natural 20 on the dice, Sage's body began to glow a bright light as it began to change form with this familiar white light that the trainers have seen before. Sage, their Tortuga, was now Sage, the Caracosta, a thick-shelled bipedal blue sea turtle, now able to walk on land and conquer the sea, lifting the burning log by themselves and throwing it away by sheer willpower for Kurt and Abigail to get out. But picking up Abigail after the damage she sustained. Welcome, Sage the Caracosta. And then you see kind of like Sage kind of slips a little, and he's like, no, fuck that shit. And you see his body turn white. And you see his body become so much larger and so much heavier. You see him change into this bigger turtle, and he immediately like starts lifting up this entire log out of sheer willpower and adrenaline.
Yes!
And he fucking throws it.
Yeah!
And there you see, you're looking up and your vision's kind of hazy as you're like super like, this adrenaline's pumping through you as you like approach near death, and you see a fucking giant Caracosta fucking standing there and picking you up.
Holy he's so big! Yes, so Sage! Oh my god. Oh my god.
20, boy. Let's go.
Nice. It's a cute turtle.
Yeah. However though, Kurt and Abigail were not out of the woods quite yet. Literally, they had to spend one more turn in the burning forest to reach this mysterious voice asking for help. We cut back to Jenny and Jess, an angry chorus of Poliwhiles and Poliwhirl on the other side, chirping and whooping for their contender. Jess was worried and sent out Hunty, the Haunter, to come out as a sort of a reinforcement. However, Whirlypole noticed Hunty and turned back to the enemy, giving Jess and Hunty a thumbs up with their white glove. Jess understood and knew that she could trust Whirlypole with this fight, and it was their fight alone. Jess wasted no time and tried to land a slimy frog punch, a homebrew move. And I even implemented a rule where if you took damage, or if you were taking a hit, you would have to roll a dex saving throw to avoid getting knocked off the rock. The punch landed, but this Poliwhirl took the full brunt. And if you followed that Pokemon Origins video series from Pokemon, go watch it. It's very good. It looks like the scene from episode 4 where the Blastoise just takes a clean punch from Charizard like a fucking boss and doesn't fucking flinch, getting a nat 20 on their dex save to not fall off this rock. Then, the buff Poliwhirl retaliates with their own slimy frog punch, dealing the same damage back to Whirlypole. Whirlypole's stance gets rocked a little bit, but they remembered Blossom's helping hand and gave 2 thumbs up to Jess, Jenny, and Umi. However, this Poliwhirl decided to go full force with a body slam, knocking Jess's Whirlypole into the water, but getting dazed from Whirlypole's natural hypnosis feature, getting disadvantage on their next attack. And Austin gets very sassy as he questions why I get to roll so high. 5?
Why are you rolling so high? Stop fucking rolling so high.
Yeah, roll high for us.
Why are you rolling so high?
I got a 10 and a 7, plus his 5.
Okay. Yeah, whatever.
If you already hadn't figured it out, Austin hates losing. Austin, the player, hates losing. So I thought that'd be very funny to throw in there. I think he's gotten a little better. We'll see, though. But Whirlypole was not going to quit here. They climb back up on the rock, and Jess and Whirlypole take the risk of using their own belly drum, taking half their current HP. Don't at me, I like the suspense that this creates, and now have 14 health left. However, Hunty flew above the leaf tornado and dropped a citrus berry inside. Thanks to Jenny from her support, berry giver, Happini. Whirlypole catches it in one hand and thumbs up in another as they turn away from the group to eat it, leaving their mouth an enigma. Still. Jess and Whirlypole decide to wrestle this buff Poliwhirl off the rock, but they lose against the Whirlypole, looking quite fucked up while this other Poliwhirl lords over our Whirlypole. But back to Kurt and Abigail. Abigail rolls, got an 11 for the last encounter. More roots and debris getting in the way, but both Abigail with Sage and Kurt burst through this final obstacle. And in front of them, they see a brown bear cub that looks very injured and underneath some fallen branches. Its breath was very shallow and rapid, unable to breathe in this environment as a ring of fire surrounded them. And Kurt jumped forward to save them thanks to Wirt's bubble beam being able to put out some of the flames. But Abigail and Sage were not able to jump through as the flames quickly reignited. Before they could think about being separated, a snap from above was heard, and even more branches and fiery debris came raining down right above this Teddy Ursa. Kurt went to a quick panic and threw himself in the way of the debris along with one of his Pokeballs. Very surprised the fairy came out, and when she saw this, she immediately did a panic metronome, and with an 18 on the dice, a huge hydro pump surged from the earth and from the fairy's hands and blasted away the surrounding flames and the falling branches. Kurt picked up this little baby bear, a small brown bear cub with a crescent moon on its forehead, with a yellow mouth and little black nose and eyes. It was badly hurt, a huge cut on its arm, singed fur, and barely breathing. Kurt then tried to get his Amara to help cool down the Teddy Ursa, thinking it would help, but only knocked it unconscious with a couple points of damage. Abigail put some actual fucking medicine and was able to help the Teddy Ursa get a steady breath. Meanwhile, back with the Poliwhirls. Jess's Poliwhirl, now off the rock, thrown off by this buff Poliwhirl, they are able to clamber back on for a surprise tackle, wrestling their way back onto the rock. And the buff Poliwhirl was taken by surprise, having already thought that they had triumphed. They soon fell off the rock themselves, falling into the water. Now this buff Poliwhirl climbs back up, full of vengeance against Jess's Whirlypole, striking them and dealing 11 damage out of the Whirlypole's 12 remaining HP. Whirlypole gets another citrus berry from Hunty's delivery service, and Whirlypole's still on the losing side. Jess tries to go against Whirlypole's wishes, but Whirlypole's determination seems to ignite something within him that made his skin flash green as they go for the all-for-nothing slimy frog punch. Jess and Whirlypole put everything they have left for this last empowered slimy frog punch. But their opponent still stands. Jess and Whirlypole are now at a huge disadvantage as this Poliwhirl saves on their dex save to avoid landing on the edges of the crown. Whirlypole is exhausted after this brawl. On their knees, they accept their loss as the enemy stands above them once again to strike them down. However, the party noticed something bubbling in the lower level of the river. Moving, viscous sludge move up the river and emerge through the surface. All of a sudden, everyone sees a sludgy arm appear and stakes its claim on a victim, the enemy Poliwhirl. And before they can even react, they are dragged into the water, their eyes filled with horror as their fingers try to dig into the rock underneath, and the black and purple water was now joined by a crimson red. Our party members, on high alert, waiting for this ill-timed assassin/monster they must now fight. And from the disgusting waters burst an arm made of pure sludge, striped with dark purple hues as toxic sludge polluted the surface level of the water. We then see two milky white eyes emerge from this goo, and a huge black mouth scream one word, "Mark!" And that's where we ended our session. Hello, and thank you again so much for listening to this TLQ DL. I will divulge on some more details about the giveaway that I had mentioned at the beginning. in the announcement episode, so keep an eye out for that. That'll probably be uploaded either same day, or a day or two afterwards. We'll see. And then I'd like to give a shout out to our patrons. Thank you so much to Jacob and Mars. Mars has an new Abra, along with their evil Raichu. And Farley, who is Jacob's NPC, they have a team of ghost Pokemon that I will keep secret for now, at their discretion. If you'd also like to support us, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/theOCPKMNpod. I believe that's what it is. I should really learn these. I really should. I'm just going to complain about it every episode until I do. So, sorry guys. And I'd also like to give a shout out to our friends at Instagram, at BK Pokeshop. They do a lot of help sort of promoting us to their fan base. They've even made some stickers, so I might give a sort of a link to those if enough people are interested, and as well as our good friend Oliver Hamlin. Oh, and before I get to Oliver, BK Pokeshop, if you mention our name when you purchase something from them, you'll get 10% off your next purchase, just by dropping the name OC Pokemon Podcast. And about our friend Oliver, he is a great artist. He works with watercolors, still a traditional media, and he's very fantastic. At Oliver Hamlin, you'll be able to find him. His work is phenomenal. He's done a lot of stuff for us. That's sort of later in the campaign. And unfortunately, we are not really able to show off anything. I totally forgot to release the Odysseus, so I will go ahead and try to do that this weekend. Currently, right now, it is April 10th. I'll drop that in the feed. I'll talk to Jenny about that. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to. And yeah, so go visit BK Pokeshop, get 10% off your next purchase, and visit our friend Oliver Hamlin, who does a lot of artwork for us since we are subscribed to his Patreon. But yeah, thank you again for listening. I know it's sort of a slow grind for me just because I know how much stuff I have already planned out and we've already played through, and I would love for you guys to sort of get through there. So if you guys want, drop a comment. Let me know if you guys just want to, these TLQ DLs to be a little bit faster and a little less edited. It'll help me out a little bit on my end. But I do want sort of the best experience for you guys listening to this adventure, even though it's sort of compact, and I know the other alternative would be sort of shittier quality audio. So again, let me know. I would appreciate the feedback very, very much. And again, I almost forgot, shout out to T. Anderson, our first review that was on Podcast Addict. If you know them, let them know that we love them, we appreciate them, and thank you so much for leaving us a 5-star review. That is our first one, I believe, on Podcast Addict. I know we have a couple on iTunes, and they don't feel very, very genuine, because I know Haley left one. I probably should remove it or have it removed, just because it's I don't know, it feels dishonorable, and I'm all about that honor train. So again, thank you to T. Anderson. I will be also shouting them out in the announcement episode exclusively just for them, and some more details following the giveaway. So keep an eye out on the feed. I'll be uploading the main one, this TLQ DL, and the announcement episode. Thank you again for listening, and hope to see you guys, or hope you guys listen next time. There you go. Bye.